The grand assembly hall of the Threshold Compact glittered with the cold light of 1,000 projected stars, each one representing a member species of the galactic order. At the center of it all, upon a dais carved from black crystal mined from a dead world, sat Emperor Zithorus Kale, ruler of the Kaelan Dominion and self-appointed steward of galactic civilization. Below him, in the section reserved for provisional species, stood Admiral Darian Voss, representative of the human delegation. He had requested this audience for the third time in 2 years. This time, he had been granted exactly 4 minutes. 3 minutes and 40 seconds remain, Admiral, Zithorus said, his violet eyes half-lidded with practiced boredom. Use them wisely. Emperor Kale, Darian began, his voice steady despite the weight of 100 alien stares. Humanity has fulfilled every requirement set before us. We have policed our own space. We have paid every tribute levy. We have answered every call for aid during the Corvette incursion, losing 11,000 soldiers to defend colonies that were not our own. We are asking, again, for full membership status in the Compact. A ripple of amusement passed through the assembly, the dry rustle of chidinous laughter from the Skarn delegation, the low electronic hum that passed for mirth among the Vaontu. Zithorus leaned forward, resting his chin on a hand adorned with rings older than human civilization itself. Full membership, he repeated, as if tasting an unfamiliar word. Admiral, your species has existed as a starfaring power for what, 200 years? The Compact has stood for 11,000. You ask us to hand you a seat at the table your ancestors did not build. We did not ask you to build it for us. We asked to sit at it. And what would you offer this body that the 1,000 species before you have not already provided? Your technology is borrowed and reverse-engineered. Your culture is fractious. Your history is a litany of self-inflicted wounds. You bring nothing the galaxy does not already possess in greater measure. Darian's jaw tightened, but his voice did not rise. We bring willingness, Emperor. We bring people who go where others will not, who hold lines others abandon, who rebuild what others write off as lost. Sentiment, Zithorus said, waving a hand. The Compact does not run on sentiment, Admiral. It runs on contribution, on legacy, on the accumulated weight of civilizations that mattered before your species learned to forge iron. He rose from his throne, and the chamber fell silent. Humanity is young. Loud. Unrefined. You squabble over borders you drew yourselves. You fight wars over ideas as if ideas were worth dying for. You are, in the truest sense, provisional, a species on probation, tolerated because the Compact is patient, not because you have earned anything. The words landed like blows, deliberate and precise. Darian felt the eyes of the assembly upon him, waiting to see if the human would break, would beg, would do what so many had expected of his kind since first contact. He did not. Then I withdraw the petition, Darian said quietly. Effective immediately, the human systems will recall all forces currently deployed under Compact mutual defense agreements. All technical assistance contracts will be terminated within 30 standard days. All trade concessions extended to member worlds bordering human space will be revoked. The amusement in the hall died. You cannot simply leave, Admiral, Zithorus said, a thin edge entering his voice now. Human forces are deployed across 41 contested systems. Human logistics networks supply 6 border fleets. Human engineers maintain the shield arrays over. I am aware of our footprint, Emperor, Darian said. We built most of it. He turned to address the wider assembly, not just the throne. For 60 years, humanity has propped up a galactic order that refused to acknowledge us as anything more than useful labor. We patrolled the Veil corridor when the Compact fleets called it unprofitable. We rebuilt the Threll colonies after the Skarn raids when no one else would commit resources. We held the line at Corvette while delegates here debated procedural motions about whether our dead counted toward the official casualty registry. He let that last point hang in the air. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. We did all of this not because we were ordered to, and not because we expected gratitude. We did it because it was right, and because we believed that one day, this body would recognize what we had already proven 100 times over. Today, you have told us, in the clearest terms possible, that you never will. Darian's gaze swept the chamber. So we are done waiting for permission to matter. This is theater, Zitherus snapped, though something uncertain had crept into his composure. Posturing. You think your absence will cripple the compact? I think you should find out, Darian said. Humanity withdraws. He turned and walked from the hall, his boots echoing against stone older than his species' written history, and he did not look back. The first reports reached the Imperial Palace within 6 days. The Vale Corridor, unguarded for the first time in 4 decades, fell to a sudden surge of pirate fleets that had long avoided the sector specifically because of human patrols. 40 merchant convoys were lost in a single week. Insurance markets across 3 sectors collapsed overnight. By the second week, the Threll colonies, rebuilt twice already by human engineering corps, began reporting structural failures in habitat domes that no other species had the materials science to repair quickly. The Compact's own engineering guilds, accustomed to outsourcing such work, scrambled and failed to mobilize in time. 12,000 Threll civilians were evacuated to emergency shelters. By the third week, the border fleets that had relied on human logistics networks for fuel refinement and supply chain coordination began reporting critical shortages. Compact military analysts, reviewing decades of data, made an uncomfortable discovery. Nearly 30% of all interstellar logistics infrastructure in contested space had been quietly built, maintained, and run by human contractors and engineers, woven so thoroughly into the system that no one had thought to calculate what would happen if that thread were pulled. By the 4th week, the Corvette incursion, believed contained for years, flared again along its old fault lines, testing defenses that had not faced real pressure since humanity's intervention had ended the original conflict. Emperor Zitherus Kale stood before his own war council, watching projections of fleet readiness drop in real time, watching shipping lanes collapse, watching the polished architecture of 11,000 years of galactic order begin to show cracks no one had known were structural. Send word to the human delegation, he said finally, the words tasting like ash. Tell them the assembly wishes to reconvene. Admiral Darian Voss returned to the Grand Assembly Hall 31 days after he had walked out of it. The chamber was quieter this time. Fewer delegates laughed. Zitherus did not rise from his throne, but something in his bearing had changed, the careless authority replaced by something more careful, more measured. Admiral, he said. The Compact is prepared to discuss humanity's petition for full membership. We're no longer petitioning, Emperor, Darian said. We're negotiating terms. A long silence stretched through the hall. Very well, Zitherus said at last. Terms. Darian allowed himself the smallest of smiles. Humanity will return to mutual defense agreements, logistics support, and engineering assistance, as a full and equal member of this compact, with voting rights, council representation, and formal recognition that our contributions to galactic stability have never been provisional. He paused. And going forward, Emperor, you will remember that civilizations are not measured by how long they have existed, but by what they are willing to do for others when no one is watching, and no one is forcing them to. Zitherus studied the human before him, small, short-lived, stubborn beyond reason, and for the first time in 11,000 years of his species-long memory, he understood that he was looking at something the galaxy had badly, dangerously underestimated. Agreed, the Emperor said quietly. Welcome to the Compact, Admiral Voss. Properly, this time. Darian nodded once, and somewhere in the silence of the chamber, a new chapter of galactic history quietly began, one written, at last, on humanity's own terms.